This is your whiteboard brief for Friday, May 1st. We're going to start out with 3 rounds of dumbbell floor press, underhanded banded pull-aparts, and dumbbell hammer curls. Our Metcon is a couplet of power cleans and push-ups. You'll see that the rep scheme decreases by 3 reps each round, going from 24 all the way down to 3. You have a 22-minute time cap. Our finisher is 3 rounds of 10 to 15 overhead tricep extensions. Hey guys, today our strength is going to be some upper body work. We're going to run through 3 rounds of dumbbell floor press. Obviously, if you don't have a pair of dumbbells you guys can work with, we can do this with a barbell or a kettlebell. So dumbbell floor press will be our first movement. Second movement, banded pull-aparts. We're gonna do this with an underhand grip today, and I'll show you guys how to do the bent over reverse fly if you don't have a band to pull on. And then we have a dumbbell hammer curl at the end. And like I said, if you don't have a dumbbell you're working with, we can do this with a kettlebell or a barbell as well. So let's talk about the floor press first. I'm gonna show you guys the way that it is written today, which is 2 dumbbells, 15 reps. So for the floor press, we're gonna lay flat on our back. You can have your legs out straight or planted on the ground. It just depends on how your lower back feels and what feels comfortable for you guys. So I know a lot of you guys, if your legs are out straight, that's a little bit too much pressure on your back, so just pull your feet in and plant the feet. So what the floor press works is the top range of the bench press. So that means that we are not allowing our hips to raise up off the ground today. Make sure your butt and hips stay glued to the floor on this. So we're gonna lay back. Hands are just in a neutral grip here, so my elbows are kind of out at a 45-degree angle right now. I'm not really forcing them to stay glued to my side. And like I said, keep a neutral grip with the wrist. All we're doing is pressing straight up to full extension and then back down. One thing I want to think of before I go is really think about screwing my shoulder blades down into the ground. So there should feel like there's some pressure of your shoulder blades pressing down into the ground before you start. Okay, so you'll do 15 reps. If you guys only have 1 dumbbell or 1 kettlebell to work with, we'll do 7 to 8 reps on both sides, okay? If you have a barbell, you'll just do barbell floor press like we do in the gym. I know most of you guys don't have like a rig to take it off the rack like we normally would, so just do your best to kind of roll that barbell forward, get it set up in its good position. Remember, if you're using a barbell today, you're trying to bend that bar forward. Remember, we try to turn on those external rotators, and I'm physically trying to bend the bar forward, trying to get the 2 ends of the barbell to touch. Obviously, it's not gonna move, but that's gonna help activate everything. Once again, we're bringing it straight down and then pressing straight up, okay? So if you have 1 kettlebell, if that's the only piece of equipment you're working with, you are going to do the same thing, just single arm, okay? So pressing straight up and then back down, having the bell of the kettlebell on the outside of your wrist. And like I said, if you're using just 1 object today, you're gonna do 7 to 8 reps on each side for the floor press. Okay guys, the next movement is banded pull-aparts, and this is gonna be underhand grip today. So we'll have our wrists facing the ceiling. We're still gonna pull from about forehead height, pulling down to chest level, really squeezing our shoulder blades down and back as we go through this. Okay, you have 20 reps there. If you don't have a band or anything stretchy like this to use today, we're gonna do the bent over reverse fly like we've been substituting. But before we start, I want you guys to twist your wrists so they are facing forward. Normally when we do the bent over reverse fly, we keep our wrists facing down, but today you're gonna twist your arms to face them forward, and then you're still gonna get into like almost that deadlift setup, so knees slightly bent, back flat, hips back, shoulder blades engaged, wrists facing forward, and then bringing your arms up just like this with a slight bend in the elbow, squeezing the shoulder blades together at the top. Last movement for today is written as a dumbbell hammer curl. So I'll show you guys that version first. You're gonna hold the dumbbell just like you would a hammer, wrists are facing each other, going from full extension up to the top and back down, okay? So hammer curls can get pretty hard pretty quickly, especially if you're working with a heavier weight. So what I like to do is really create that tension by squeezing the crap out of the dumbbells, and you're trying not to get any assistance from your hips, okay? So right off the bat, it shouldn't turn into like a big kipping hip swing, okay? I do understand as you guys get maybe to like your 12th, your 15th rep, you may need to get a little bit of assistance with pushing your hips forward. That's fine, but just try to go as strict as possible for as long as possible, okay? If you guys are working with a barbell, you can do the same thing. We'll flip our wrist out, so facing forward. Hands are just right outside of the legs here. And once again, just trying to get full range of motion as strict as possible for as many reps as possible. Okay, you can also do this with a kettlebell by holding onto the handles and going down to full extension and up. Okay, so that's 20 reps there. We have 3 rounds. You guys are going to rest about a minute when you finish 1 round. Then you'll go back up to the top and you have 2 rounds after that. Okay, so 3 total rounds. Okay guys, our Metcon today is a couplet, 2 movements, power cleans, and push-ups, okay? So our rep scheme today is going to decrease by 3 reps each round. We're gonna start at 24, then go to 21, 18, 15, 12, 9, 6, all the way down to 3. Okay, so that's gonna be a total of 108 reps of power cleans and push-ups, okay? If you guys are working with an assortment of weights and you can choose the weight that you use today, make sure that you're picking a weight that you can do, I would say at least 5 to 7 reps unbroken at the beginning. Power cleans can be done with dumbbells, a barbell, and then I'll show you a version of stuff that we can do with kettlebell as well, if that's what you're working with today. Let's talk about the barbell version first, okay? So remember guys, with like cleans and snatches and stuff like that, remember we want to keep the bar path as close to our body as possible. Okay, so remember we're going to be incorporating an aggressive high pull before we throw our elbows under. Okay, so we're going to start very similar to our deadlift setup. Our feet are going to be about hip width apart, hands are about a thumb's width outside of my legs here. Okay, so I'll get down almost like I'm starting a deadlift here. I'm gonna drop my butt down just a little bit more, try to get my chest opened up a little bit, really engaging the lats and pushing my shoulder blades down and back. From here, you're gonna stand up, hips and shoulders rise at the same time. Keep it closed, big pull, and drop underneath, okay? So remember, this is a power clean. It's not a squat clean, so you need to be catching it anywhere above parallel. Okay, and if you're using a barbell today with anything above 10 pounds on each side, it needs to come from the ground each time. If you're using just an empty barbell or you only have 5s on the side, you guys can do a hang version, okay? So you can come from right above the knees. Okay, so you'll do 24 power cleans on your first round. And actually, let me go over the alternate options as well. So if you guys are working with a pair of dumbbells, I will always say this when we talk about dumbbell power cleans, if you cannot start from the ground with a flat back and shoulder blades engaged, then you need to go from the hang position. Okay, I know some of you guys just don't have the hamstring flexibility at this time to reach the ground without rounding your back. Okay, we want you guys to stay safe, so no shame in going to a hang clean instead. Okay, if you can do power, you'll notice that my feet are starting a little bit narrower than they would on a barbell clean. That's because I have 2 dumbbells that need to touch outside of my legs, okay? As I come up and land, you'll notice that my feet will get a little bit wider, okay? So from here, I'm gonna stand up, do that big shrug, high pull, drop underneath, okay? I'll do it in real time now. I'll show you guys a few. So I'm going to tap, pull, drop, stand. Tap, pull, drop, stand, okay? And like I said, please do this from the hang position, right outside the knees here if you need to, okay? If you guys are working with a kettlebell, I'm gonna give you guys the option to do substitute American kettlebell swings for your power cleans, or you can do like a kettlebell squat clean. It is incorporating a squat, but I do want to make the kettlebell a little bit harder for you guys. So like I said, you can either do American kettlebell swings. Just know you're going to finish this workout a lot quicker than everyone else if you pick that option, or you can do like a kettlebell clean into a goblet squat, okay? So what it's going to look like is a high pull, switch your grip, squat and stand, okay? Back down, high pull, flip your grip, squat and stand, okay? So that is another option for you guys to do today. Like I said, the reps are gonna decrease by 3 each round. So we're starting at 24, then going to 21, 18, 15, 12, 9, 6, 3, with a 22-minute cap today. So let's talk about the other movement, which is push-ups. So after I finish my 24 power cleans, then I move on to 24 push-ups. Okay, for those of you guys trying to do prescribed today, I know I keep on beating this into your skull, but we want to work through full range of motion, chest touching the ground, coming up to full extension, in a nice solid position. At no point in a push-up should you feel relaxed, okay? So a lot of people think they're doing prescribed, but when they bring their chest down to the ground, they relax for a second. So everything kind of just becomes jello, and then they push back up. So they lose that tension in the middle. You may think you're doing yourself a favor by being able to get the workout done quicker, but you're never gonna get better at push-ups unless you really, really think about staying under tension and keeping the movement nice, strong, and solid. Okay, so remember we want to turn on our external rotators. So once I get my hands set just right outside of shoulder width, I'm thinking of them as screws. So I'm thinking of screwing them into the ground. Okay, I want to have my elbows angled back at that 45-degree angle. Basically, you guys are starting in like a perfect plank. Okay, so you're punching up through the shoulders, you're squeezing your glutes, getting to that nice hollow position. Okay, going down, chest to ground, come back up. Okay, if you need to, go ahead and drop to your knees, but remember we're still looking for full range of motion, so you're still fighting to get your chest down to the ground, pushing back up. And as always, guys, go ahead and throw a pillow, an ab mat, a blanket under your chest if you need to get a few inches of help. We always have elevated surface as well, so pick a bench, side of a couch, whatever you need, a box to make it a little bit easier, okay? So you'll do power cleans and then push-ups, then you'll decrease the reps, power cleans and push-ups. You're gonna go back and forth all the way until you finish your set of 3. Once again, you have a 22-minute time cap today. Okay guys, your finisher today is 3 rounds of 10 to 15 overhead tricep extensions. Got a couple different versions to show you depending on the weights that you're working with at home. If you have dumbbells and they're really, really light, go ahead and grab both of them, okay? So we're going to start overhead in a flexed position. I'm trying to get my triceps, the top of my arms, as parallel with my body or perpendicular to the floor as possible. So in other words, I'm not behind my head starting with my elbows pointing forward. Trying to get them to point towards the ceiling. And then I'm holding my dumbbells here close together. From here, feet are about hip width apart. I'm squeezing my core, okay, keeping everything nice and tight. I don't want to flare open here. Try your best not to do this. And then from here, we're going to fully extend above head and then back down in a nice controlled manner, okay? If you guys are working with some heavier dumbbells, you can just do 1 and stack the hands like this. Same concept, pushing up to full extension and then back down, okay? You guys can do the same thing with a kettlebell, just grabbing onto the handles, taking it overhead and pushing up. Kettlebells are hard to use for this, but if that's your last resort, just do your best. And then if you guys are just working with a barbell, we can do skull crushers. So you guys can lay down on the ground. You'll start with your hands right outside of shoulder width apart. Feet can be planted or straight out. And then from here, I'm trying to keep my triceps or the top part of my arm straight up and down. The only thing that moves is below the elbow. So from here, I'm gonna let the barbell fall back, right, like either on top of my forehead or right behind it, and then press straight up, okay? Nice and slow, down and up. And actually, I'm sorry, I'm showing you guys a little bit wider of a grip. I want you guys to be narrow, so probably about a thumb's width apart from the other hand, taking it down, either right on top of the head or right behind, okay? So once again, 3 rounds of 10 to 15 there. If you can't get to 10, if you can't get to 15, that's fine. I know you guys are all working with different options for weights, so just do your best.